Paper was a huge success for us.
But is this really the case?
We could technically pack this item in a tiny little box. We really can't mess up that moment.
What are the best solutions?
Our experienced packers are still able to beat the algorithm.
Why is this the case? Hi, I'm Elena, and this is Business Casual, your guide to dressing Europe. Here we unpack all things e-commerce, logistics, innovation, and Europe for fashion and lifestyle. In today's episode, we're focusing not on what's in the package, but on the package itself. And my guest today is David Fischer, Director of Logistics, Sustainability, and Packaging at Zalando. Welcome, David.
Hi, Elena. Good to be here.
I've heard that you've spent quite some time in the Navy and that you're famous for your impeccable folding skills. Is that correct?
I'm not sure if my instructors from Basic would agree with impeccable, but yes, I did spend time in the Navy.
There are actually many items that are difficult to fold, right? For example, this puffer jacket here on display today. Why is this the case?
Any large volume item is an interesting one because we could technically pack this item in a tiny little box, but then you would have the same experience as if you would have when you order a mattress online. You open it and it just explodes, and there is no way you're ever going to return this again in the box it came with. That's probably not a good customer experience. So we have to find the sweet spot between a great and efficient experience for the customer and protecting the item and making also the return flow great.
And sustainability becomes more and more important for customers in fashion as well. And it's a lot about paper shipping bags, but it's not just that, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's paper was a huge success for us. When we introduced paper shipping bags and phased the plastic alternative out, we saw an increase of the eco-friendly packaging score of our customer satisfaction jump 16 percentage points, which was a huge game changer for us. At the same time, it's not that. We also work quite diligently on lightweighting all of our packaging. This should be invisible to the customer, but provide the same customer experience and the same protection to the item. In the past, we took off about 20% of weight. That also means carbon emission. That also means cost out of our packaging with the customer ever noticing.
You mentioned plastic in packaging, and sometimes it's considered as something bad, but is this really the case?
I mean, plastic is not a clear black and white case. In a laboratory environment, in a contained environment, plastic is not a bad material. It prevents humidity, it protects the item, it's quite light, and it's technically recyclable an infinite amount of times. But in reality, that's simply not the case. If you look at the recycling rates in Europe, plastic recycling rates are much lower than the paper alternative. Paper gives you a lot of the environmental benefits. The cost effect is not major above plastic, but it's much better for the customer experience. So paper is the best material we have available today.
There's a lot of misconceptions in the world of packaging and some things that were thought to be effective but weren't. Could you touch upon that?
There is a big trend around reusable packaging. When you think about it, it does sound attractive to get a packaging that can be used up to 50 times. But we've seen through experiments that in reality, these packagings never get used 50 times. They get used 5 to 10 times because the customer throws it out or it does get damaged. A carrier puts a label on, we can't get off. So we have something that is designed to last 50 life cycles, but gets only used 10 times and ends up in a landfill without properly breaking down. I think another good example is bioplastics. Bioplastics require a very set environment to decompose. And a lot of times that is simply not the case. For example, when you have your bio-waste in the bin outside your door, the environmental conditions the recyclers have do not necessarily match the bioplastics, so it just contaminates the biomass. There's, I think, a whole lot of customer education and labeling and standardization to be done for this solution to become effective.
And let's look at the fashion industry, because of course it has special packaging needs. What are they and what are the best solutions for fashion and beauty lifestyle out there?
When customers shop with us, the first time they ever have a physical interaction with us, the first time they see the product and they physically interact with us is when the driver hands over the parcel. We really can't mess up that moment. It needs to be a great unboxing experience. There cannot be any dust from the paper when you rip it open. If you do want to return it, it needs to be convenient. And also when you open the box, there cannot be too much excess room and excess air. It needs to have a tight fit because that's what the customers are expecting from all the experience from brick and mortar.
What about beauty? What kind of special packaging needs would beauty brand need?
Beauty is an interesting one because beauty needs special treatment, quote unquote, from two sides. At the one side, you have the compliance reasons. If there's alcohol in it, for example, at a nail polish remover, we need to give it special packaging to make sure it doesn't cause any harm in case it does break. And at the same time, we know from research, customers really want their beauty items separated from the rest of their basket. You don't want red nail polish next to your white shirt. Even though we protect every item in a way that it doesn't break, but the customers want to know and they want to have the security to know that in case something breaks, it's separated and it doesn't destroy the whole garment.
Let's say I'm a fashion brand and want to expand across Europe. What other things should I keep in mind when it comes to sustainable packaging?
In packaging, coming from the sustainability angle, the European market is not very harmonized. So you have a lot of dedicated market-specific rules around it. The regulators around Europe and also the European Commission is moving quite fast, and rightfully so. But it's very, very difficult to keep on top of these changes. We spend quite a lot of resources and quite a lot of time to make sure we are always compliant out of the box for our customers and merchants.
Sustainability is also a lot about innovation. So what kind of trends do you feel will be the most relevant?
AI is obviously the big one, especially in a huge retailer like Zalando or a company with a huge product variety like Zalando. We see baskets can vary almost infinite times, which makes it very difficult to find the optimal packaging portfolio to fit perfectly in the baskets you're sending to your customers. And AI is a huge enabler for these things. But the truth is also, our experienced packers are still able to beat the algorithm in terms of efficiency.
Thanks for unpacking this topic with me today, David.
You're very welcome.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in to Business Casual. Keep dressing Europe, and we'll see you soon.